The Wind of God's Spirit by Deborah Ann. The wind of God's Spirit is constantly blowing in the lives of believers. It's continually flowing. It's powerful and mighty. It's character changing in the souls of believers. It's behavior alternating. The wind of God's Spirit is constantly reforming in the minds of believers. It's attitude transforming. It's quick and it's strong. It's deep and penetrating in the hearts of believers. It's profound and regulating. The wind of God's Spirit blows as it pleases, for it's the very breath of God that governs the breezes.
Now hear the gospel. Jesus went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, also called the Sea of Tiberias. A large crowd kept following him because they saw the signs that he was doing for the sick. Jesus went up to the mountain and saw where there were his disciples. Now the Passover, the festival of the Jews, was near. When he looked up and saw a large crowd coming toward him, Jesus said to Philip, "Where are we to buy bread for these people to eat?" He said this to test him, for he himself knew what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 6 months' wages would not buy enough bread for each of them to get a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what are they among so many people?" Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was a great deal of grass in the place, so they sat down, about 5,000 in all. Then Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated. So also the fish, as much as they wanted. When they were satisfied, he told his disciples, "Gather up the fragments left over, so that nothing may be lost." So they gathered them up. And from the fragments of the 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten, they filled 12 baskets. When the people saw the sign that he had done, they began to say, "This is indeed the prophet who is to come into the world." When Jesus realized that they were about to come and take him by force to make him king, he withdrew again to the mountain by himself. And when evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, got into a boat, and started across the sea to Capernaum. It was now dark, and Jesus had not yet come to them. The sea became rough because a strong wind was blowing. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and coming near the boat, and they were terrified. But he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they wanted to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the land toward which they were going.
A celibate monk looking for water wanders to a nearby stream in the forest. A group of women bathe in the river stark naked. He has never seen a woman naked before and is somewhat shocked when he looks at their breasts. He asks, "What are they and what purpose do they serve?" A wise old woman sitting at the bank says, "They are for her offsprings." The monk thanks her, drinks some water, and leaves. However, he continues to meditate on that day. One night, he realizes the love of God, that God has provided breasts for the female species so she may nurse her offspring with milk, offsprings that aren't even born yet. The monk is present to the greatness and power of God's grace. After a lioness gives birth to her cubs, she licks them clean and cares for them until they reach the age of 2 or 3. When God created the world, God breathed life into it, has licked our wounds clean and cared for us by the way of Mother Earth. Everything we need to survive, nurture, nourish, and nurse ourselves is on this earth. It has been provided as a grace from God. It is beyond creation as he, she, it, they has also provided means of sustenance of the cosmos. In today's modern world, we might call this creation and sustenance, agriculture, animal husbandry, climate action, among other things. In spite of halting or slowing all human activities during the pandemic, we still face the imminent danger of the wildfires in the West, record heat in the Northwest, the inexplicable flooding in Europe, and snow in Texas. How are we treating our Earth, God's very own creation? A creation that has provided us more than we can account for since our birth. No act, no deed, no thought, no intention is too small. Or as they say in performing arts, there are no small parts. I was on a walk with a friend and picked up a plastic bottle to add it to my recycling. He told me it was not my job, but the job of the garbage collectors. I looked at him, smiled, and said, I only have one earth. When I soak the lentils to prepare Indian dal, I use that water to nourish my plants. I realized my sewer does not need the nutrients, but the plants and trees around me do. From time to again, I use discarded banana peels on my dress shoes before putting them in the compost. The peels, not the shoes. The inside of the banana skin is an excellent source of moisture to protect and restore my pleather companions. Hand crank appliance and sourcing resources, shorter showers and solar calculators, from no to plastic straws and shopping at thrift stores. These are a few of my favorite things. Practicing spark joy and checking free cycle, less use of flames in my prayers and blessings, asking for help, lending someone a hand. These are a few of my favorite things. Psalm 104 verses 10 to 25 read, God makes spring pour water into the ravines. It flows between the mountains. They give water to all the beasts of the field. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. The birds of the air nest by the waters. They sing among the branches. God waters the mountains from their upper chambers. The earth is satisfied by the cattle, the plants for us to cultivate, bringing forth food from the earth, wine that gladdens our hearts, oil to make our face shine, and bread that sustains our heart. The trees of God are well watered, the cedars of Lebanon that she planted. There are birds make their nest. The stork has its home in the pine trees. There is the sea, vast and spacious, teeming with creatures beyond number, living things, both large and small. How many are your works, God? In wisdom you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. We are reminded to rejoice the creation and bear witness to the continual blessings and benefits God bestows upon us. God continues to be at work as humans do all the normal things of daily life and activity, as animals hunt for and gather food, as plants spring to life and then wither and die, as streams and rivers swell and recede in their normal seasonal patterns. God is the author and sustainer of their magnificent creation, and we can play an important role in aiding God. We can support the spirit, we can support the vitality, we can save her creation from falling or sinking. The sum of environmental influences and conditions acting on all organisms, especially in contrast to heredity. How are we sustaining, keeping in existence, maintaining, continuing, and prolonging? If you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Hand crank appliance and sourcing resources, shorter showers and solar calculators, From no to plastic straws and shopping at thrift stores, these are a few of my favorite things. Practicing spark joy and checking free cycle. Less use of flames in my prayers and blessings. Asking for help, lending someone a hand. These are a few of my favorite things.